So today I have Jason Jennings here with Friedrich Realty out of Ames, but I know that he gets down into the Des Moines metro as well because we have worked together in the past. So Jason, thank you for making the trip down here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Just after the first of the year, so take that into context with anything that we talk about. But how was your New Year's?
It was great. Funny you say just after the new year because I'm driving down here and sign above the highway says 0 traffic fatalities.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I would hope so. But no, off to a good start. Got stuff in the pipeline, got a few pendings already. So yeah,
That's nice.
Things are looking good.
So as it comes to people in the industry, what's the key to keeping that pipeline full? Because I know, at least in my business, that November, December really kind of starts to slow down. So what is a key for, a realtor that is doing this on a full-time basis to keep that pipeline full so that as they jump into the new year, they're not waiting till March, April to get those, first set of deals closing?
Sure. Just never take your foot off the gas is kind of it. Someone once told me, wake up every day like you're unemployed. Keeps you motivated, keeps you pushing. But the way I do my business is mostly through referral. So I spend a lot of time networking, getting to know people, staying in touch with people. So just constantly being out there.
What have you found in your networking? Is there any one specific area that has produced more business for you than another area?
Everything I do has been good, but I probably lean heavier into chamber events and being involved with the chamber. Still am on several boards. And so through that, some networking, but chamber events have been huge for me.
So if somebody's, when you say you're on boards, that is, you're basically involved with the organization, right? And helping direct where that organization goes.
Yeah.
What kind of organizations are those? Are they for-profit, nonprofits? What are they?
So I've only been on non-for-profit boards. So one of them's the Ames Regional Economics Alliance Chamber Board. I'm now past chair of that board. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes for Mid-Iowa. I've been on Salvation Army before that one. I'm not on anymore. And I'll be chairing the Ames Main Street Board this year.
For somebody that's potentially looking to get involved in something like that, what is it that they're looking for? What kind of, what are some points that you might want to bring, or what's the process for getting on a board like that?
Some of it starts with knowing people, but let them know you're interested. There's always boards searching for people. But if they don't know you're interested, they may not talk to you. Having been on the exec team and the chair, I talk closely with the organization, and they ask for my input. And it's always helpful if someone has told me, hey, how do I get involved with that board? So, just asking.
Sure.
There may not be a spot today, but if they know you're interested, there may be next year.
And definitely showing your interest in that organization, maybe getting involved in that organization before you're obviously on that chair, so those people can get to know you and who you are and those sort of things, right?
Yeah, and I didn't start as the chair on any of these. I started just as a member, and then they asked me to join the executive team, which eventually led to being the chair.
Sure. The last 12 months in real estate's been a little interesting.
For some.
For some. What has been your biggest challenge over the last 12 months, and how did you work through that?
Not to toot my own horn, but I had my best year ever last year. So,
nice.
So for me, it was just I kept grinding, kept doing what I'm doing, and it still works. There's the challenges of, interest rates and inventory is still an issue in Ames. But buyers are pickier now. They forever, someone was able to say, hey, this house needs work. I don't care. I'll put some sweat equity in it. But with interest rates higher, people want houses that are move-in ready.
Mm-hmm.
So convincing sellers, hey, let's get this house move-in ready is probably one of the bigger challenges, I suppose.
Are a lot of sellers still in that mentality that their home is going to sell quickly?
Some of them.
And that they don't feel the need that they need to do those things to really prep their home for sale?
There is some of that, and there's even some that are like, we're going to set the price. We're okay if it takes a little time, and we're open to negotiation. But it's never a good idea to price high and plan on negotiating, because then you're chasing the market.
Mm-hmm.
Because the longer it sits, the more people are like, what's wrong with it?
Yeah, the market, back when we met and started working together, you could basically set a price, whether it was low, right on, or high, and you were going to have activity.
Yep.
Whereas now, if you're priced too high, I would imagine that you're scaring people away from even seeing it.
Yep.
Is that true?
Yeah, if you price too high, people aren't going to walk through the door. Your pictures, you can be as creative as you want and show just the nice pictures if there are, but people see through it.
Sure.
So yeah, if you price high, they're not even going to walk through the door.
Sticking with the media, how has media played a part, or how big of a part has media played in your business?
I think it's important not only to do great quality pictures. I laugh when I see someone use cell phone, or they buy a camera themselves and everything's all distorted and fisheye.
Mm-hmm.
But I've added video to all of my listings, and I don't know if I've seen direct result from it, but I hear people talking about it, so it creates brand exposure at a very minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Clients like it, but it's a different way to show the house that a picture can't. You get a little closer feel of scale with a video. You get a little bit of an idea of the layout depending on the style of the video. So I think having pictures and video are a must in today's market.
Well, I know you've been really good about being on camera, whether you're introducing the house or not. I think that's a very it's a very important thing. I remember we got together in Ames, and we were stopped literally on Main Street in Ames by somebody who had seen some of your videos. Yep. And commented. And so just being able to be recognized and not just, showing what the house is an important thing.
Yep.
Apparently I left my camera back at the house. So I'm like, hey, my kid's driving. He can come and get, or he can bring that to me, since might be running a little bit behind. But
that's better than locking your phone in the house and then lock the door. Now you can't open the lockbox.
Yes. Did I do that, or did you do that?
I think we've all done it.
Oh, gosh. I'm trying to think. I don't know that I've ever done that, but I have walked up to a house. The lockbox wouldn't open, but I found a window that was cracked open, or that was unlocked, so I climbed through the window.
Yep. So I had one. I left my phone in the house, locked the door, but I had my AirPod in. So I had to walk close enough to where the phone was on the outside of the house, get Siri to call someone with a phone to come let me in.
You know what? Hang on. I may have done something like that, because I had to do something somewhat similar. That I'm trying to remember what that situation was. I can't remember what it was. How many years you been in the business?
Licensed in 2017, full-time since 2019.
Okay, and what did you do before real estate?
So that 2017, 2019 span, built homes with my family, and did a little bit of real estate. And before that, I was in business phone systems, so telecommunications.
Okay. So always in front of a customer of some sort, selling yourself, that sort of thing. When it comes to working with clients, whether you know them or it's literally, an out of the blue, phone call or conversation, what's something that clients, when they're working with you, appreciate about you, your business, and that relationship?
I'm never salesy. I talk to people, I'm honest with them, and I try to get to know them, and hopefully they get to know me and just be genuine. I'm here to help them navigate through the process of buying or selling a home. I'm not here to sell them on anything. And I tell them all the time, if you feel things aren't working, let me know and we'll figure something out. Mm-hmm. Whether it's I introduce them to a different agent that meshes with them or not. But my mentality's always been, I'm never going to be able to help every person buy or sell a house in the area, and but I want them to be happy at the end.
When it comes to, let's start with brand new home buyers.
Yep.
Okay. And that process, what is something that a first-time home buyer or somebody that hasn't been in the market for a long time, so maybe they're downsizing,
Yep.
or something like that, what is something that with today's process or today's market, or what's something that, one, they definitely need to be considering when they're making that decision, but two, maybe isn't as big of a deal as they thought stepping into that process?
Yeah, so going to first-time home buyers is easy because there's a lot of programs out there that help first-time buyers. There's grants. There's some lenders have special promotions with different interest rates. But one thing that comes up a lot, it's still so many people think you have to have 20% down. Mm-hmm. You don't. There's loans out there with 0, but majority you can do with even a 3% down. So don't let down payment scare you. Go talk to a lender first, or talk to an agent if you don't know a lender and get an introduction to a lender, because the lender will help you understand what you need down, what you can afford, and give you ballpark idea of payments. Until you lock an interest rate, it's hard to say and know which house, because taxes fluctuate, insurance fluctuates. But
that has been like the number one answer from everybody that I've talked to so far. Now, it's only been a handful of people, but almost every single time I ask that question, it's always, you don't have to have 20%. Yep. Now, there are talking heads out there that advertise you have to have 20% to put down. How do realtors, how do people in the industry really get that information out there so that people have a better understanding of that stepping into the process versus, assuming that they need that and not stepping into the market because they only have, that 5, 8, 3, 10% down?
I start with all my clients having a meeting with them and just kind of talk to them where they're at in the process, and I let them know that. And a lot of people will say you want 20% because if something happens, you're not going to be underwater when you try to sell your house, mm-hmm. or if you don't put 20% down, you have to pay what's called PMI. Mm-hmm. There are some banks that have, even with 3% down, they've got a program where you still don't pay PMI, so that's not even always the case. But, just open conversations with clients and ask them questions, let them ask me questions, and we try to get to the root of it and go from there.
Okay.
Now, I don't go out and just always say, I know there are agents that do it. I don't go out and say, oh, you don't need 20%, you can do 3 and do videos. Maybe I should, but again, I don't try to be salesy.
I think there's a fine line between being salesy and being educational. Maybe the line's thicker than I think it is, but I think a lot of it has to do with tone and just how you present yourself.
Sure.
In terms of how you're disseminating the information, and even a lot of times people are looking for a call to action.
Yeah.
Right. That to me sounds salesy.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas just getting the information out there and sharing the information and not necessarily expecting anything in return.
Yep.
okay, let's flip the script and now sellers, right? What's something in your business that when somebody's looking to list their house for sale, and a couple things here, something that maybe they didn't think that was significant that is more significant, or vice versa, something that is very important for somebody selling a home that they're like, really? Does that really matter?
Yep. Yeah, the number one thing that when I approach a seller is we're trying to remove objections. Yeah, you may think it's no big deal because you've lived with XYZ for the last 5 years, but to someone else, going back to what I said, they want move-in ready. It is a big deal to them. One thing I offer to my clients is I hire a stager to come do a pre-listing consult, and I'll go through with the client first and talk about some of the things I think, but she reinforces it. She may even point out, oh, let's rearrange furniture this way. Let's do lighting this way, whatever, and just really help them get ready. And the ones that buy into it, I think it really does make a difference. You know, I pay for the consult. They just have to take her advice.
Mm-hmm. What's what's your rate of people following that advice versus not?
I think most of them do. I don't know if I've got a specific rate. Sometimes she goes in and she's like, yeah, there's really not a lot they need to do. So, but
good job.
But it's a service I offer.
Sure.
Because I think it's important to set the tone right the first time.
What are some of those biggest hurdles in, how did you put it? You don't want to, you want to remove objections.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Or what are some of those objections that you're looking at, when listing a house?
Paint's a huge one. Sometimes they're like, well, the paint's nice. It's in good shape. I'm like, but it's neon green. Or
Right.
I'm just picking a random color, but I did really have a house with neon green. So that's one sometimes. Removing pets. People are like, well, they're not that big a deal, but to someone else they are. Mm-hmm. I hate the word, but declutter is the biggest thing. Depersonalizing a lot of times, because as what that happens, you've got a lot of family pictures. Someone walks in, it makes it harder for them to visualize themselves in the house. And they're like, well, it's just pictures of my family, but to someone else, it's pictures of someone else's family.
Yeah.
So they can't picture their family. So you want to make it comfortable for someone to walk in. You want it to feel homey and let them start visualizing what it'd be like with them in the house.
Absolutely. Going back to the whole pet things, that's one of the things that 99 times out of 100, if I show up and there are pet things in the house, I'm going to move those things to another room. Whether it's food, water bowls, cat towers, dog beds, whatever it is, even a basket of toys that is nicely put back in the corner. If somebody sees any evidence of pets, that if they are, whether it be they're allergic or they don't like dogs or cats or whatever, even though all of that stuff is, the animals aren't going to be there during the showings or anything like that, it's one of those things that I almost always pull out of the frame, because I don't want that to be a hurdle in the photos.
Job of the photos to get them in the door. And you're not hiding anything. It just, that's your first line of marketing. And that's something I've always appreciated with your photos is we may miss something walking through and you're like, oh, what about this? What about this? Or homeowner didn't think it was a big deal. I've seen you take stuff off counters and sinks and reposition trash cans, and I've always appreciated that, because sometimes it's a hurry to get ready, but you take the extra time and make sure things are right. Well,
thank you. I take pride in the fact that, sometimes I try to see those little things. One of the things that drives me nuts is, even recently within the last couple of weeks, I've seen some photos where the toilet seat's up. Even those little things just make a difference, and you only have a split second to potentially catch that that buyer in those photos, and those photos need to be really good.
Yep.
And even if maybe they can't see the difference, there might be something subconsciously that triggers in their brain as they're seeing one photo versus another.
Yep. Yeah, there's some crazy stat. It's like when the person walks in a house, subconsciously they've made up their mind in like the first 8 seconds or something.
Wow. So first impressions do make a difference.
Huge difference. And don't quote me on the 8 seconds, but it's literally seconds.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm barely getting my shoes off in 8 seconds.
I know, right? I would think one of the biggest things is smell.
Oh, yeah.
When you walk into a house, whether it doesn't even have to be animal smell.
Yep.
It can be
food smell.
It can be candle smell. Yep. I know when I've walked into a place to take photos, right? People have candles on, and I'm not a huge proponent of strong smells.
Yep.
But, it's kind of like realtors whispering while I'm taking photos, right?
Yeah.
The camera can't smell.
Yep.
The camera can't hear you talking, so I always find that kind of funny. Like, are you trying to make it smell better for me?
Yeah.
I appreciate that, but,
Funny thing about candles and air fresheners, too many make people think, what are they trying to hide?
Exactly.
So there's the opposite of that effect also.
Or having, let's say you have one upstairs and one downstairs, but they're two different scents. And so when they come together, they don't mesh well.
Yep.
If you're going to do it minimally, but have the same scent throughout the entire house would be my suggestion.
Yep.
This is one of the more fun questions, I think, anyway. In your time as a realtor, or I suppose even building houses or whatever, craziest thing you've seen or experienced, whether it be on a showing, walking into a listing, or just any part of the real estate process?
I take a lot of pictures of funny stuff in houses, whether it be obscure light switches. One of them said, when you flipped it up, it had a sign that says, "Turn me on like I do your mom," or something to that effect. Saw one where, it happens. We have to use the bathroom in the house. Mm-hmm. Lifted the toilet seat. And obviously a bunch of women lived there, and it said, "Put the effing toilet seat down." So I see a lot of crazy stuff like that. It's fun. I always think I'm going to create an album and post all the crazy pictures, and then a million pictures later in my phone, I'm like, I can't find them, so
right.
I don't do it. But, man, craziest thing. Those come to mind just because they're a little more memorable. I don't know. There's probably something I'm not thinking of.
Okay.
And I don't know why I'm drawing a blank because I figured you'd ask that question.
What's that? Oh, you figured I was going to?
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of crazy stories. Well, I went and met with a client, and it was a referral. This one, just talking to someone about this today, so I don't know why it didn't pop in my mind. And I'm meeting with her, and she goes, "Just so you know, it's an elder lady." And turns out she has zero filter, and she's earned it. She was 90-something years old. She goes, "I hate men." And I'm thinking, why on earth did you call me to list your house if you hate men and don't trust men? So, we had our meeting, and I felt like it went well, but I was like, I better get some backup. So there's a newer agent in my office, female agent, and I said, "Hey, got a client here that says she hates men. I know I'm competing. Why don't you come with me when we go meet again?" And we ended up getting it, and she's wearing a shirt that high neck on it, sleeves, like short sleeves, but it had diamond cuts in the sleeves. And the lady told her, she goes, "My mom had a shirt like that when she was younger. It was slutty then, and it's slutty today." So just one fun story. And she gave her a hard time about haircuts. She ended up picking on her more than me, which was interesting. She hates men, but picked on her.
It was picking on the female. That's funny.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a client I had back in the day. He would come in, and this was when I was in the car business. He bought 2 or 3 cars from me during the time that I was selling, but every single time was a grind. And so by the second car, I remembered the first car, and I knew it was going to be a grind. And when he sat down, I just prefaced it like, I know this, just come on, let's just get it over with. Give me your lowball offer. I'll go take it to him. He'll say no. I'll come back. We'll go back, So, again, older,
Yep.
no filter. So sometimes those, if you can play into it and do it respectfully,
Yep.
it can make for a very memorable,
Yep.
very memorable time. Do you do a listing presentation?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Probably should do it every time. Depends on the situation. Because I like to go meet with them first, get an idea of the house, and then I go back with a price. I don't ever give them a price till I've seen the house because I've likely never been in it. So I don't know the condition. I don't know the upgrades, things like that. And so sometimes they don't invite me back. They're just like, what do you think it's worth? And that's when I'd normally do the presentation because then I can show them the comparables and things like that. But so it depends on if they want me to come back or if they just want to know the price.
How many or what percentage of listings in your market where you're at are you usually competing with another agent on? Because I was talking with a realtor and they were saying like 9 times out of 10 or maybe 19 times out of 20 people are hiring that first realtor that they talk to.
I don't always know how many times I'm competing, but I'd say it's probably pretty low because I get so much referral business.
Sure.
So there's an inherent trust there, and when it's referred and they call me, very few talk to someone else. So I'd say mine's a low number.
What's been one of the struggles that you found in your market?
Probably just right now the lack of inventory. Ames still has very low inventory. If you're talking just in general, if you're talking competing, is that maybe where you're headed with that?
No. I just in general, I had something in the back of my brain that I didn't know if you obviously share a last name with another large real estate group in your market.
Sure, yeah, that is definitely a struggle to get confused. I'm sure I've gotten a little business because they thought I was them, and I'm sure they've gotten some because my name and maybe don't have the connection. Because I do know at least twice that I've seen it happen where I'd talk to someone and like, give me a year. I talk to them, give me a year, and then next thing I see is they're listing with them. So not a big deal, is what it is. Like I said earlier, there's plenty of business to go around.
Yep, most definitely. In your mind, what is one of the biggest misconceptions? So this goes more along the lines of somebody that's looking to get in the business. What is one of the biggest misconceptions when somebody that's outside the business steps into the business? Something that either surprised them or they weren't ready for, or
I think the ability to create business. I think a lot of people get into it thinking someone's just going to call me to help them buy or sell a house, and it's not that they just come piling in. You've got to get out there and work. It's not necessarily an 8-to-5 job. Some people are successful at doing that, but in reality, most people work 8-to-5, and their free time to look at houses is when they're not at work.
Right.
So you work weekends, you work evenings, sometimes holidays. But it is important to set boundaries too, because if you don't, you'll find yourself just working sun up to sundown, sometimes longer, and every day, and you never take time for yourself. So it's real easy to let the business run you. And that was something I told my wife when I started getting busier. I was like, if I'm ever so busy that it's affecting us, let me know so I can pump the brakes a little. But it can get addicting to just get out there and work and create new business. So
sure.
But yeah, definitely knowing that work's not going to come to you. Yeah, you can buy leads, but even buying leads, you still got to work those leads.
It's not an automatic yes.
Yeah. the classes you take don't really prepare you for how to do the job at all. It's a broad class or classes, but it doesn't tell you how to generate work, doesn't tell you how to host an open house. It doesn't tell you how to write a contract. It doesn't tell you really anything that pertains to the day-to-day.
So in those real estate classes, somebody going to get their license, is there a piece of information that you learned in those classes, or at least was delivered to you, that you haven't used?
Oh, there's plenty of stuff. Talking about just a lot of it would land division. And the one that everyone jokes about is how many square foot in an acre, because they grind that into your head. And don't use it totally, but you subconsciously do, because you look and see something's, 20,000 square foot, so it's roughly half an acre.
Sure.
But a lot of that stuff I don't think I've ever used again. I've flushed it down. So.
Sure. And that's an interesting point, because when people are putting listing descriptions out there, and I guess I haven't paid that much attention on like Realtor.com, Zillow.com, the MLS, when you input the lot square footage, right? Is that square footage, or is it a decimal based on how many acres, or can you choose?
So there's both fields in there. Some do one or the other. I think might even require you to put the lot square footage, and then the acres is optional. I can't remember. Unfortunately, the assessor has both on there, so you don't even have to calculate it. So it says, here's how many square foot, here's how many acres.
Well, that's where that calculation comes in, right?
Yep.
20,000 square foot, approximately half an acre. So when you're listing a home, are there any non-negotiables from your client that's listing the house? If we're going to list this house, this is something that needs to be done, a process that needs to be followed, something like that.
Just one of the biggest things that I tell a client, they've got to keep a house tidy and have it show ready, because someone comes in to a messy house, it's going to be an objection. Now, we also give clients times to get their houses ready. Depending on the house, I like to have open houses. Today's market, that seems to be more important. I feel like there's less showings but more traffic at open houses. So I try to get clients to be open to me hosting an open house for them. Most of them are like, open houses are dumb, I don't want it. But or they're private and maybe don't want people in their house that aren't serious, because let's face it, you're going to get neighbors, you're going to get tire kickers, and they only want serious buyers. But I think it is important in today's market to host opens.
How important are open houses in your business?
I think they're very important. Like I said, that right now is what's drawing in, I feel like, more buyers than showings. You can't just list a house and let it sit. And I maybe don't host them all. Sometimes I enlist other agents to help host the opens, but it's also, for a newer agent, it's a great way to pick up new clients, because not everyone walking through the door has an agent, and not every one of them is going to buy the house that you're hosting. So if you can make a connection with them, and you might pick up a new client and help them find the house that they are looking for.
Sure.
When I started, I got a lot of business from hosting open houses.
I would imagine that, as a new agent, they should probably be trying to be out almost every weekend, hosting an open house. Where do you want your business to go? Where does Jason see his, business, not only for the following year, but the next 5 years? Where do you want to take your business?
It's funny you ask, because I've been kicking around different ideas. Do I want to just stay where I'm at and enlist the help of others and have them work for me, or do I want to officially start a team? So I've been kicking that around a lot, and probably should be making a decision before going into the year, but I have really been kicking around the idea of starting a team, because I feel like I can, a lot of agents want leads given to them, but I can teach people how to run a business, how to generate their own business, and then I can keep them busy, through my business already. So I've really been kicking it around, but I always knock myself back down because a lot of them want leads, and for me, buying Zillow leads or whatever is just not my thing. So I don't know.
So who's the ideal team member?
Someone that's willing to get out and work, not afraid to do open houses, not afraid to go network and meet people. Someone that's hungry to learn how to do the business.
Is there, I don't want to pigeonhole anybody, but have you seen where somebody who's successful in one industry be very successful in real estate?
I think if you're a people person and can talk to people, you can be successful in real estate. Because that's really what it's about, so relationships. When I first went full-time, like I said, didn't know what to do. I'm in the office. I'm like, all right, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. Someone goes, build relationships. And I'm like, what? Didn't make any sense to me. But really, as I've grown and done more and more, it really is about the relationships. And it's not even just client relationships. It's photographer relationships. It's chamber relationships. It's just everyone, because not everyone's going to be a buyer or seller, but someone will know someone and be like,
mm-hmm.
Jason's a good dude. Let's send him some so-and-so that wants to buy a house.
A piece of advice or something significant for somebody who's looking to get into the real estate industry, right? They're looking to be a realtor. And is it different from somebody that's young and wanting to start a lifetime career, or somebody that's in a different career, your age, my age, looking to step into the industry?
Yep. I think everyone should start by job shadowing an agent that's successful and busy so they can get a taste of what it's really like. There's going to be days that you're super busy, days you're like, well, not a lot going on. That's when you should be working on marketing, branding, whatever. Mm-hmm. But so many people see what they see on $1 million listings, selling Sunset, and think it's all glamour, but it's not. Every day's different, every deal's different, and even job shadow's only going to give you a taste. But job shadow for a stretch of time, which I know is not easy, or intern or something like that. Mm-hmm. Really get a taste for it, because it's not for everyone. Like I said, it's a grind.
Being a business owner is a grind.
Yep.
Right? Being self-employed, you have to have that self-motivation to go out and get those leads, to put the time in, because your schedule is your own.
Yep.
Right? If you don't go into the office, or if you're the kind of person that can work from home, even if you're sitting at home, you've got to put in the time, right? It's the business isn't going to just drop in your lap.
Exactly.
So putting in the time, building those relationships, and getting out and, being willing to hustle, and being okay with taking what comes to you, I would imagine, at the beginning, right? Not being picky on what the listing is, but then what can agents do when they are getting those first listings? What can they do to set themselves apart from, other new agents, or to help advance their career even as they get started?
Just be there for your clients. You don't have to answer them at 10 o'clock at night, but, mm-hmm. Talk to them. Don't just email them, have conversations, kind of give them the white glove treatment. You've got all the time in the world. Mm-hmm. Treat them like they're gold. You should treat everyone like that, but it's a lot easier when you're new. And if someone has a great time working with you, they're going to refer someone to you eventually. And it's not just during the transaction, stay in touch after, stop by and just see how they're doing. Shoot them a text every now and then, and not just your generic Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Mm-hmm. Make it meaningful.
Make them let them know you're stalking them on Facebook and social media, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, I see you were just in so and so. How was it?
Yeah. I've actually become really good friends with several clients. I'd call them all friends. Some I talk to a lot more than others, just because we've got more in common. But that is something you'll find is what was a client is now a friend, and that's
Sure.
pretty awesome. I always think it's great, the quality of your picture, so maybe speak to what you do differently just for everyone else out there. I know, but I know you do a lot of stuff with lighting that most photographers don't, and that goes back to what I talked about where I hate when I see the camera phone and I know you can take a good picture of the camera phone or the distorted fisheye, but for you it's art and you do a great job with it.
I'll flip that back to you because you do know my process. You have seen me on site. You're one of, not every realtor is there while I'm taking photos, and you are there 95, maybe even 100% of the time. What is it about the deliverable of my photos that sets them apart from other photographers that you've worked with?
I just think it's a crisp, clean picture. It's not distorted. You can see the colors of the home. Not sure. I've seen what you do, but I couldn't explain what you do. But you take multiple pictures of the same shot and blend it to get it to look like what they're going to see when they walk in the door.
Sure.
And I think you do a great job of it.
So this is going to get in a little bit into the weeds, but the process that I use is called flambient. And flambient is a blend of ambient and flash. And the camera exposure, it could be, really, really bright inside that house, but using different settings within my camera, I can make it very, very dark. And what that does is it reduces how all the light that's coming in the house interacts with one another and how it adjusts the color in a room. Because you may have, whether it be gray, taupe, white wall, right, that's painted the same color from one end to the other. But if you have big windows on one side, right, let's say it's a dining room or going out, big windows on that side. So you've got sunlight coming in that side, and you've got really, really orange light bulbs over here in the kitchen and the counter and those sort of things. Yep. That white wall is going to look blue and white on one side and yellow on the other because of the different color that's coming in that space. So by using flash, I can control that color because the color of the flash pop is going to be the same throughout the entire space, so I can control the color. Well, okay, great. I've got a flash shot. Well, now this shot looks flashy, right? It doesn't look like how the light enters the room. So that's the flash of the flambient, right? Well, then I take an ambient shot, which is how the light comes in the room, how the fixtures fill the room with light, which is one of the reasons why I like having all the fixtures on, because then you can see how those fixtures fill the room. But then I lay the highlights and the shadows over the top of the flash shot, and it changes that flashy shot to real color, and you really get to experience how the light fills the room because you're bringing that into the final image.
Yeah. One random question. What's your ideal client?
Ooh, ideal client. My ideal client would be somebody that sees the value in the products that I create, because I'm not the cheapest out there. In fact, I might be the most expensive in terms of my photo work and stuff like that, and will listen to suggestions and be okay with me challenging them to help them grow their business.
Yep.
Because I know I've lost some clients because of that. Go and take photos for them, that sort of thing. And I think did I ever do my normal photos for you at any point in time?
I think early on, and then I saw the value of the other ones.
Of the higher end ones?
Yeah.
So when I started out, those photos were great. They were composed the same way, just the color, because it was called an HDR image, or it's basically a blend of different exposures, but you didn't get the clean color across the entire photo. They were, I would say, medium quality, maybe just above medium quality, but they certainly weren't high quality in terms of the accuracy of the color and stuff like that. Well, realtors had gotten used to that product, right? Well, now I'm bringing in this more expensive product and them not seeing the value in it. Like, hey, here, you should try this. Well, yes, it's going to cost more because it's a longer process. But it's a much better end product. So I think I've lost some realtors because of that, because I was trying to help them grow their business by putting better media out there. And I think I've actually lost some people because I'm like, you really should try video. And if you're not doing video, you're missing out on eyes on your listing.
Yep.
Because if you're only putting photos on the MLS, which is then going to Zillow and Realtor.com and Homes. All those others, if you're not doing video, it's not getting on Pinterest, TikTok, Facebook, and getting to the next generation. That's all they're doing is consuming video.
Yeah, especially the more of those apps are now search engine optimized.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, then you need to be on camera. And some people do not like being in front of a camera.
You just got to say, forget
it. But that's hard for some people to do. And even, I think, getting on camera and like opening a door, right? They didn't have to say anything, but they were on camera opening a door. I've seen they did that, then they left me, and then they didn't do it again.
Yeah.
Right? That sort of thing.
Interesting. It gets easier every time.
It really does. You really just have to push past the nerves and do it. I know I'm doing one today. Actually, once we're done, the first time we did a video together, it wasn't a disaster, but it was difficult because I was trying to coax this certain vibe from the realtor. And it just kept going the wrong way. And she knows that because we talked about it, because she sat down here with me.
Save that footage. Someday maybe she'll let you make it a blooper reel.
Yeah, no, that's the other problem, though, is all of this media takes so much space.
That's true. I forgot that one time you were out of space and we had to make space to do my video. Forgot about that.
Well, not only on the cameras, but on the hard drives. And so I have 2 large hard drives sitting back here, but like once the video is delivered and the video is posted, I get rid of the file that actually puts all the media together, whether it be whatever program people use, but I will get rid of that file because it's like twice as big as adding all the media together.
Yeah.
So I will get rid of that file. I have all the raw footage and stuff like that. But if somebody said, well, crap, I don't like it now, or something went wrong, I would have to go reproduce that whole thing.
Sure.
Which, not fun. I would probably just grab the one that we finished, because I would still have that one, and try and manipulate that into what would actually work. But yeah, I think that's about it. Again, thank you for coming down to where are we? Urbandale from Ames today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun.